Hi, welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Focal Point is the program. AFR Talk, American Family Radio Talk Network, is the network. Happy to take your calls, maybe reacting to what you heard President Obama say at the prayer breakfast this morning, the clip I played for you. 888-589-8840 is the number, 888-589-8840. Also, you can communicate with us during the program via email at focalpoint@afr.net. We monitor that email box during the broadcast, focalpoint@afr.net. Also, my Twitter handle, Brian J. Fisher. We have the Focal Point Facebook page. Encourage you to visit those resources. Don't forget also, we have podcasts available at afr.net at our website. You can get apps for the Android, for the iPhone, so you can listen on the go. We post the video segments on our website at the very end of the, almost as soon as the program is over. In fact, sometimes they get up even earlier than that. So track the website if you happen to miss the program on a given day. Now, a couple of other things. 888-589-8840. I'd love to know what you think about President Obama, his statement of faith. He did talk today about how we place, as Christians, we place our faith in the nail-scarred hands of Jesus Christ. Use that expression, nail-scarred hands. But then he immediately qualified it. We have a lot of other people that are following other faith traditions, whether they're Jews or Hindus or Muslims or whatever. Now, a couple of other things about his comments. Remember, he said we have to pursue humility. And he said, look, it just seems we get together for these prayer breakfasts, and then as soon as we get up from the table, it seems like we have forgotten everything that we have prayed about. And he says, I find that out when I go back to the Oval Office and I turn on the cable news networks. Well, who's he talking about? He's talking about Fox News. I mean, CNN, MSNBC, they love him. They think he's great. They agree with him. They prop him up. They're a part of his propaganda machine. So what irks him is getting back to the Oval Office and seeing commentators on Fox News criticizing his policies or his convictions. That's what he can't handle. And so for President Obama, this is, the bottom line here is what President Obama is saying is, look, if everybody was serious when they come to these prayer breakfasts, they would walk out of here agreeing with me. The benchmark for whether you have prayed and heard from God is whether or not you walk out of this prayer breakfast agreeing with me. If you disagree with me, then it means you weren't serious when you were praying, or you haven't listened when God spoke to you. And I find out every day, he says, when I turn on Fox News, I realize nobody paying attention to their prayers. Nobody paying attention to God. Why? Because they don't agree with me. They take a different point of view than I do, and therefore they couldn't possibly have been sincere in going to that prayer breakfast. Well, let's take a couple of phone calls. Let's go to Scott in Carbondale, Illinois. Scott, you're on Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Brian, and thank you for everything you do.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir.
The primary tactic in war is divide and conquer. Barack Obama has facilitated the greatest division ever in American history, and with the media help, ushered in a policy of vicious response to any informed opposition to his agenda. These divisions include black versus white, illegal alien versus citizen, poor versus rich, women versus men, Democrat versus Republican, Senate versus House, Muslim, homosexual, atheist versus Christian. Anything divisive or perverse is promoted. His administration's If You See Something, Say Something program is a Tell on Your Neighbor campaign now implemented in most of America's Walmarts, and is designed to keep his appointed leadership informed about any unified response to his oppression. High court judges, presidents, cabinet, appointed federal employees, and our education system are rapidly being infiltrated with homosexuals, Muslims, and atheists. Common denominator, they reject Christ. This anti-Christian standards become a requirement to receive Democratic Party support in state and local candidates in elections. Tennessee Democrat Mark Clayton's primary victory resulted in the open rejection by the party because of his Christian stance. Since Obama's election in 2008, Libya, Egypt, Syria, Turkey, Iraq, and Afghanistan have come under complete Muslim control, and Jordan seems destined to fall to Muslim Brotherhood soon. Obama is sending fighter aircraft and missiles to Egypt, even after Morsi's hate-filled comments toward Israel. His top advisor, Valerie Jarrett, was born in Iran. Hillary's deadly escapade in Benghazi with her top aide, Huma Abedin's entire family tied to the Muslim Brotherhood is more than suspect. In 2009, over 80,000.
Hey, Scott, let me just interject here. I've got some other callers, and I want to be sure we get to them. Can you summarize what else you have there and what you wanted to communicate?
Okay, well, I feel that the black people will receive recognition for promoting immoral and youth-destroying ideals far outside the traditional commitment of their family-centered Christian values. And
Scott, what I'm trying to get at the bottom line here. It seems like what you were saying at the beginning of your comments is that President Obama kind of presented himself to America as the great uniter, that there was going to be this wonderful kind of peace and harmony, this racial peace. Everybody was going to come together behind the wonder and the magic of Barack Obama. And instead what has happened is he has turned Americans against each other.
Exactly. He's used division. And that's what this is about, and he's used a deception to divide people, although he really isn't there for any of them.
And it's interesting, Scott, that you talk about the strategy in warfare being to divide and conquer, and I believe that President Obama has a fundamental distaste for American history. I think he has a fundamental distaste for the values on which this country was founded. I think he has contempt for America as it was founded. I think he believes it was a racist country to its core, that he believes that racism is so ingrained in the American DNA that there's no way to mend it. There's no way to heal it. You just have to destroy the entire structure. You got to pull it down so you can rebuild his version of a utopian society on its ruins. And this is all, I believe, is quite intentional on President Obama's part. So he actually, I think, looks for ways. I think I agree with your assessment that he looks for ways to kind of pit segments of the American people, against each other, whether it's race or whether it is class warfare, stirring up this constant envy, this constant resentment of those that have accumulated wealth and have achieved success in American life, and make the poor feel like these people have ripped them off. They've ripped you off. They've taken everything you own. They've left you with nothing. Look at them living in their mansions. They've taken it all from you, which, of course, doesn't make any sense. If you didn't have it, how could they take it from you? I mean, it's just absurd.
If he doesn't destroy Christianity in this country, he cannot destroy America, because that's the foundation.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're right. I think there's a fundamental anti-Christian energy in Barack Obama. He's shown far more sympathy toward Islam than he has to Christianity. And you hear his comments at the prayer breakfast, and the words sound good. We place our faith in the nail-scarred hands of Jesus. But then you look at what he believes and what he does, and you just don't see the philosophy, the mindset, the values of Christ being implemented in his policies. Well, listen, Scott, thank you. A very thoughtful response. I appreciate that. Let's go to Cletus in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Cletus, you're on Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Hey, brother. I had a couple of points I wanted to make, and I can do it quick, but this last thing he just said, I think we all need to recognize what the Scripture says is that the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. But with his mouth, the fool will say anything. And it says it twice. David does in Psalm 14:1 and Psalm 53:1. You just need to see what we're dealing with. Jesus said, I know my sheep, they hear my voice, and they follow me. There's zero evidence that this man has a clue who Jesus is.
Well, and Jesus said, it's by your fruits you shall know them. That's what you can't always look at what a man says. You have to look at what he does.
Paul says the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5. But what I wanted to say, two comments. The problem in our whole country right now is that we have some solid believers, and probably 98% of your audience is comprised of those. What we need to do is stand up on our hind legs, as Paul said in 1 Corinthians 16, verse 13, stand fast in the faith and present yourself like men. He said that again in Ephesians 6:13, and he says the same thing. He says, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand the evil day. We're not doing that. And the Laodicean apostate church of Revelation 3, verse 14, is being manifested. Now, those of us who are solid, we need to stand up and be counted. And we need to call our congressman. I take great solace in hearing you the other day talking about our friend Marco Rubio and how he's off track on this immigration stuff, and how we want to give lawbreakers sanction. I appreciate what you're saying. And also, I want to challenge you on one thing. You
Yes,
were
sir.
talking about you're not going to back off on calling illegal aliens,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not going to back off about the weapons and calling the AR-14.
Right. They're sporting rifles, right?
Yeah, that's what they are. Well, let me challenge you. Go to the Word, and let's do not allow ourselves to use the homosexual terminology of gay. There's nothing gay about them. We need to call it homosexuality. We need to call it sodomy. Call them sodomy. Please, Brian, stop using their word. Don't use gay.
All right, Cletus. Well, listen, I appreciate the appeal, and I've gotten that appeal from many before. And occasionally, I will use the word gay. Sometimes I'll use it in tweets, just because gay is a lot shorter word than homosexual. But I do use the word homosexual, homosexuality, homosexual lobby. That's the term of choice. I think that's the more accurate term. And, I really irritate the people on the left when I refer to homosexual marriage as sodomy-based marriage. That's the term I use to refer to, because it is the most accurate term to refer to what they call as gay marriage, what I refer to as homosexual marriage, or sodomy-based marriage. It's marriage that's based on what we, for 200 years, referred to as the infamous crime against nature. Listen, I appreciate the call, Cletus, and Cletus stressing the importance of terminology, and I agree. I think it's very, very important that we choose the terms, that we use those terms, that we do not allow our adversaries in the culture war to establish the terminology and sort of give ground, play ball on their turf, engage them on their turf by letting them choose the terminology. Illegal aliens are illegal aliens. They are not undocumented Americans. They are illegal aliens. They are not military assault weapons. They are sporting rifles, and the list goes on. So I think it's important. I think Cletus's word is well taken. Now we come back, we'll take some more phone calls. I'm also going to play a soundbite from Chris Rock referring to President Obama as our dad. See what you think about that. Back in 2.